Oh, hey, I'm glad you're here. If you're listening to this at the time of the recording, happy spooky season. While our season of chaos is not exactly horror focused, I have recently recorded with a few fantastic podcasts. First up, the New World Pictures podcast welcomed me back to talk about Zombie Nightmare. Definitely check out that episode. It was a lot of fun to record with them. That's New World Pictures podcast. I also just recorded episodes with the Schlock and Awe podcast and Film Feast, so keep an eye out for those for the wonderful, wonderful spooky October. Also, we have a ton of episodes that look at horror movies, so if you're deep diving horror this October, then go back to our beginning. We have The Lure with a Mermaid, Deadly Games with a Santa, Teen Witch with a Witch, not horror, but still fits, Body Parts with a Surgical Assistant, Of Unknown Origin with an Exterminator, and the list goes on, and all of the guests are absolutely great. So please check out those episodes. Last, here's a bit of a warning. While a fun celebration of all things body horror, this episode features a candid and graphic personal story. If you get woozy when people talk of bodily fluids or surgery, then please listen responsibly. I don't want anyone passing out behind the wheel or at work. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm honored to have this person share their story, but I want us all to be safe and okay. So let's get to it. The episode is all about body horror. The guest is Jeff Holland, and this is VHS. Hello and welcome to VHS. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and we're continuing Season 13, the Season of Chaos, with a conversation on the movie subgenre body horror. What is that? Well, the internet says body horror or biological horror is a subgenre of horror that intentionally showcases grotesque or psychologically disturbing violations of the human body or other creatures. These violations may manifest through mutations, mutilation, zombification, gratuitous violence, disease, or unnatural movements of the body. Interesting. It erupted in the subgenres of North American horror films with its roots in early Gothic literature and then expanded into other media like the talkies. My guest for this special episode is writer, actor, director, and co-host of the Slumgullion podcast, Jeff Holland. Thank you for being
right.
here.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing really well. I'm very excited for this conversation. I'm excited to talk to you for this episode. This was, I believe, partly your idea, I believe.
Yeah. You were looking for ideas, and I were like, this may be a little bit weird. This may not be my job, but I went through this.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that you brought this idea. I don't love that you went through that, but for anyone that doesn't know, would you mind sharing some of that up front?
Okay. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 bladder cancer.
Wow.
It was called highly aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we'll get to the specifics further on because since we're going with movies, we have to start with an amuse-bouche and then the appetizer and then the fun stuff. So here is the amuse-bouche. And this is to all of your readers. Listen to a man who knows. If there is urine in your blood, do not wait. Get it checked out abso-fucking-lutely immediately. Do not wait. Do not think about waiting. Get it fucking checked out. I waited. Now, my condition was bad no matter what, but had I not waited as long as I did, things might have gone slightly different. Now, again, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you see urine in your blood, don't be a fucking Chad and be, no, get it checked out.
There you go.
That's the amuse-bouche, because I'll tell you what happens when you don't get it checked out after we go through our first round.
And just to appease people's anxiety, how are you now?
I apologize. 3 years cancer-free.
All right, great. I love that.
And also as part of the body horror aspect of this, when I was told what this actually was, and I have a story before we get to the actual cancer part.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a pre-cancer story. That's why I like this.
Oh,
5 films. This works out great.
Yeah.
But when I was finally told what it was, the surgery that I had to have was so complicated. The doctor basically said, if you get through the surgery, you'll be fine.
Wow.
Yeah, my surgery report is over 20 pages. And we'll get to why in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
But yes, I am fine. Knock on wood. I am getting my yearly checks. I'm still cancer free. So, yes, that's why I'm using this for comedy and entertainment's sake, as opposed to whining to a psychiatrist, because I'm okay with this.
Right. Okay.
Oh, wait, even better, even better.
Yeah.
I got cancer in 2020 during lockdown.
Uh,
So I'm dealing with this completely alone.
oh my
Let's
God.
put that in the mindset as well for what we're doing with this, as far as body horror and stuff like that. So, okay,
Yeah.
there's the mindset for this.
Yeah. That's a dark, dark place to be.
And I'm laughing right now. So please, folks, laugh with me
Yes.
on this.
Yes.
But this is a cautionary tale.
That's important. I mean, it's easy to wait on things, and health is one of those things you gotta bite the bullet and do it. You gotta get it checked up on, and yeah, I understand that with every
And I
year.
freely admit I was dealing with some mental issues while that didn't even involve my blood. My mom had just passed, so I was still
Right.
dealing with that crap. So I wasn't even thinking about urine in my bloodstream. So I don't have an excuse for not checking it out, but I do have an explanation.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
Anyway, that's enough body crap for now. Movie. I want to
Yes.
hear your first movie.
Okay. So, for the sake of this conversation, we each brought 5 films which operate within the subgenre of body horror, and I just went with the first 5 that came to mind. How did you come up with your 5?
Well, I had two that came to mind immediately.
Okay.
One is actually one of my favorite films of all time.
Great.
Um, the other ones I kind of thought, and one in particular, as I said to you earlier, I play fast and loose with the idea,
Mhm.
but I think it's a good one.
Great. Okay. So, why don't you give us your first of the 5?
Oh, okay. I will start, and I will go with the one that I played a little fast and loose with. My first film is Todd Browning's Freaks.
Nice. Okay.
I do not have the year because I do not do very much research on my stuff. I just like to come on and talk. I believe it was 1932. Hopefully, your listeners know this, but for those of you who don't know, Todd Browning directed Frankenstein. He was famous for his portrayal of outsiders in cinema, Frankenstein monster. And then we had his film Freaks. Did you find the year?
1932. You're correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Alrighty. And for those of you who do not know, it is a story of, I'm going to use the term because it was the term used back then. This may not be politically correct now, but circus freaks. You're with a troupe of circus freaks, and there are the beautiful people involved as well. Now, the reason that I use this as body horror is this is what honestly believe James Whale did this on purpose. He was using body horror to manipulate the audience. Because at the beginning of this film, especially in 1932 when this came out, and people freaked the fuck out over this film. I mean, people were fainting. This is one of those people were legitimately fainting
Yeah, yeah.
because, again, there are no special effects. He legitimately used circus freaks in the film as the main characters. And he did this on purpose. In the beginning, the audience is the people who are just coming into the circus. And you are, I hate to say the word repulsed, but a lot of people were back then, or at the very least shocked because these other bodies were unnatural to them. Yet, by the end of the film, and if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
The tables turn on how you feel about these characters, even in one of the most horrifying scenes, I think, put in 1930s film. Them going through the mud.
Oh,
That
yeah.
mud scene in the
Yeah.
rain at the end is terrifying as hell.
Yeah.
But
It's a good
they're
movie.
the good guys at that point, and
Mm.
you're rooting for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's a brilliant juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And I really do think Whale did that on purpose. I think audiences who actually were able to sit through the entire movie back then at the end would be going, "Aw," as opposed to, "Oh, they're so horrible too. Bitch got what she deserved."
Yeah.
Because you know, at the end of that movie, in that final shot, the people who stayed through the end are like, yeah.
Yeah, it's also one of those movies that, I mean, it's iconic, of course, for many reasons, but the "One of Us" chant from that film is like
Oh,
all the outsiders that see that film are like, yeah, we're not the pretty people from the fashion magazines. We all are banged up and original in our own ways, and part of that same outsider group. So that's a wonderful pick.
and like this whole movie, it's warming, but also slightly disturbing at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel the brotherhood of all the characters, but then again, watching it, you get kind of like, now, granted, she overreacts.
Right, 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 right.
And I'm not saying it in case anybody who hasn't seen it wants to go check it out. And I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, go check this thing out. It really is a masterpiece of early horror.
Yeah, it's one of the first DVDs I think I bought was
Good
Freaks.
man.
Yeah,
Good man.
yeah.
There are two movies that I have championed for as long as I can remember my first seeing, and they're both older films, and that is Freaks and M.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Classics.
I M is one of my favorite films of all time, but
Yeah.
that's a topic for a different case.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't quite fit here. Um,
Not quite, but anyway, Freaks, Todd Browning must be seen by everybody as far as I am concerned. Not just if you're a horror fan, if you're a film fan, it's
yeah,
a great film.
yeah. I agree. And you brought some class, 1932. I love that. Well done.
I try, like I said, I want to play a little fast and loose before we got to the generic stuff. I want.
Sure. Yeah. All right. My first film is Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Oh, that was almost on mine. I
Okay.
thought about that one.
Yeah, it's the first one that comes to mind for me. It's the first film that really taught me what body horror is. And yeah, the film centers around an unnamed Japanese salaryman who wakes up to find pieces of metal sprouting from various parts of his body, and he becomes haunted by visions of a metal oriented sexual fantasies. As the man steadily becomes a hybrid of man and machine, he develops a connection with a victim of a hit and run incident who's undergoing the same transformation. It's crazy. It's got the crazy penis drill scene, directed by Shinya Tsukamoto, who's one of my favorite directors. It's just like when I saw this, did we start off with two black and white movies? We did.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
How's
cool.
that?
When I first
Now,
saw this,
question:
yeah,
did you know this? Did you know him as a director before you saw this, or was this your introduction
no,
to him?
this was my introduction to Japanese cinema by and
Oh,
large.
Jesus Christ! This
Yeah, yeah. I
wow.
was
Okay.
we had it in my dad's video store, and so I just grabbed it and was like, I'm gonna see what this is, and it just blew my mind. Like to the point where I kept it in my backpack when I'd go to house parties and stuff. I'd be like, we should put this on. Like I was that weird kid carrying Shinya Tsukamoto's Iron Man around on VHS. But
Okay.
yeah, it blew me away. So before I knew who Kurosawa was, I knew Shinya Tsukamoto. And
Wow. Now, I was a nerd. I knew Kurosawa first. I can't
nice.
lie.
Well, that's makes sense.
Ron came out when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So I actually saw Ron in the theater, and that was it for me. But anyway, yeah, this one I saw this on video. It was back when it first came out. The video store that I went to, the dude that ran it knew I was a horror fan.
Hmm.
So when he would get all the good films, he'd be like, "Hey Jeff, I got something for you." That's
Nice.
how I discovered Killer Clowns.
Oh yeah.
But he also gave me Iron Man. He was like, "I'm going to warn you, you are not prepared for this." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So I'm like, "No, trust me, you're not ready for this movie." And I wish I had been a stoner at that point because I would have loved to
Mm.
experience that for a first time high. I really, really do. Because I think the film made me high.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's like cinema drug, like is what it is, because it just like
Natural Born Killers, I think, is the closest approximation to that type of
sure.
cinematic high. If you know what I just such a mass media onslaught.
Yeah, 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 definitely psychedelics for sure. But yeah, that's my first pick, Shinya Tsukamoto's Tetsuo the Iron Man. What is your second pick?
Oh no, we're gonna do a little story
Oh,
before
right,
we get into
sorry.
the second. As I said,
Story
we're
time.
interspersing. But no, I actually do have a question. Have you seen the other Tetsuo films?
Yeah, yeah. Body
Okay,
Hammer.
what do you
Yeah.
think of the series as a whole?
It's really hard for me to measure it as a whole because I'm so steeped in the first film. I was excited that there
Okay.
was like more because there's like an animated film, right? And I can't remember all of it. It's like I dove into it all when I discovered there was more, and then I just was kind of just kept the first one.
I understand.
Yeah.
I watched the second one, and when I watched at the end of the second one, I said to myself, I'm going to go watch the first one again. So I understand completely.
Yeah.
So, okay, a little more story.
Here we go.
Let's see here. So I had been urinating blood for a while, and finally I decided I need to do something about this. So I had lost my job at that point. So I called a free clinic and I'm like, this is happening. Can I come in? And thankfully or not, when they had me urinate in a cup, it was all blood.
Oh
So
my
the timing
gosh.
was perfect. So I'm like, here's the perfect sample for you. Within a couple of hours, I get a phone call back from the clinic saying, you need to go to the hospital now.
And this is during
You need to get
lockdown?
tests. Yeah, this is lockdown. This is
Okay.
lockdown. Yes, you need to go to the hospital now. The emphasis on the now was it, yeah, that was boom. So I was like, okay, something's wrong. So I go to the hospital and they start doing tests. And here comes the first body horror for me part of the entire story. This is before I even know it's cancer. I get a catheter. Now, for those of you who do not know what they do with a catheter,
Oh
they
dear.
stick I'm going to be as clinical as possible here.
Sure.
They stick a catheter up the penis and that is how blood is drained from it. I'm sure it has other functions, but they stuck it up the head of my penis so they could drain blood because I had a lot of blood where blood should not be. And as it turns out, I also had clots where blood clots should not be.
Oh my
So
God.
I had several days in the hospital where every 4 hours they would inject water into the catheter
Ah.
and then drain the water out to try and pull the blood clots out of my penis. This
Oh
went on for days,
my God.
okay, to get everything out. Okay. Now, I've experienced pain before. After those particular 4 days, pain means nothing to me
Wow.
because I have never experienced a pain like that. One in particular, I had a couple of guys come in, and granted, it was weird having strangers mess around with my junk to begin with. I'm like, I'm a 50-year-old man. This feels really weird at this point. I don't care. The one guy was cute, but still, I'm like, you're probably half my age. This is wrong. Stop. The one time in particular, the guy pulled a, for lack of a better word, worm out of my dick that he said was the largest blood clot he had ever seen.
Oh no.
I was literally screaming. And this went on for 4 days. And then finally on the fourth day, as soon as they injected the in, I could usually feel the pain. As soon as they injected the water before they started pulling, I was like, okay, it's going to hurt. All of a sudden, the injection stopped hurting.
Huh.
And then it was like they finally started getting all the blood clots out. The pain finally stopped. They had gotten
Oh.
all the blood clots out. There wasn't any more blood in the urine.
Wow.
It took 4 days of this, but they had gotten what they were able to get through that. Then, and I'm going to end this particular aspect on this particular story.
Okay.
The blood clots are done. All the tests had been done. Hadn't spoken to a doctor yet. Okay, mind you, I have no results. Okay. So day after all my tests, and I'm actually feeling relaxed, and I'd slept for the first time. Guys come in, I guess they're on the rotation, and the guy says to me, well, I heard you got some bad news last night, didn't you?
What?
And I said, no, why do you say that? And I said it exactly like that. And he kind of got this look on his face. He's like, oh, sorry. And then he went on doing about his business. And by the way, I banned him from my room. Before we're gonna stop with this, but just for as far as he's concerned, I called the doctor on staff for that floor, and I said that asshole did this. That man has no bedside manner. If he comes in my room again, I am filing a complaint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He comes nowhere near me the entire time I am in this hospital. And I never saw him again. So I
Oh,
was
good.
fine with that. But round two, we're going to end that with there. I think that's a nice place to end it. So, yeah, let's hear from medical care.
All right, what is your second pick?
Okay, now we're going to go to something. I'm going to do this one, especially since I was talking about blood clots. My second film is the Maestro David Cronenberg Shivers, otherwise known
Yeah.
as They Came From Within, otherwise known as The Turd Monster Pedophiles.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, come
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I believe this is Cronenberg's first film, or one of his first. I think it's his first. Or
I
was Rabbit his first?
I
Either way,
I
it's an early
yeah, yeah,
Cronenberg.
yeah. I think Rabid it goes Rabid then Shivers. I think, but I could be wrong.
Either way, it's one of his first two films. It's Pre-Fly, and for those of you who do not know, Shivers, or with the American title, They Came From Within. I still like
Mhm.
Shivers better. Is about a apartment complex in the 70s, a for lack of a better word, swinging singles complex where turd monsters that we're never quite sure where they come from, but they are turd monsters, affect the swinging singles and turn them into even more pervert. There was lots of perversion. There was lots of 70s, what do you call them, body squibs. And there's Barbara Steele at her Barbara Steeliest. It's actually not as graphic as one would expect. However, sexually, it does go to some places that, while not graphic, even I was surprised by. Now, granted, this is more of a sexual horror than body horror, but you do have turd monsters, so it does count.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're like squirming into people and stuff. And it does go,
Exa-
it goes Shivers, Rabid, Brood. That's sort of the order of the
oh,
beginning.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So that was the early trilogy. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, there's the infamous scene where, there's this one guy with very 70s hair and very 70s chest hairs lying on the ground, and there's the really bad body cavity that he's got with the worm.
Yes.
But again, you have Barbara Steele, and any movie that has Barbara Steele is automatically worth a watch.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how shitty the film is, Barbara Steele will give you enjoyment.
Yeah, this was something I saw kind of late in my Cronenberg education, but I had the
Okay.
VHS. It was a cool, it had like a green case, and I remember watching it and loving it because it's Cronenberg. You know, the later stuff was definitely more my cup of tea, but I like
Oh, yeah.
the first three are great.
I think what I liked about this was, as an early 70s film, the not the I hate saying moral degradation, but it was for early 70s, like, wow, you're going to some kind of dark places without being explicit. And I liked it. I mean, he was explicit in some ways, but in other ways, like the scene with the kids. You know
Oh
what's going
yeah.
to happen with the
Mm-hmm.
kids, but nothing is shown. But still, it's there. I'm like, that's some good shit there. That's some good horror there. I'm totally fine with gore, but if you can do it without it, that's even more my jam.
Yeah.
Or even if you can mix, I mean, a
Yeah.
mixer is really good.
Mix.
Like one of my favorite films, actually, one of the films on this list, I think is incredibly gory that I picked. But again, this one, not gory at all, except for the turd monsters. But I do find it more disturbing in some ways
Yeah.
because of the boundaries that it pushes.
It's the ability of the human brain to make something worse sometimes, like the whole Texas
Yes.
Chainsaw Massacre
Texas Chainsaw.
situation.
I was about to say, good
Yeah,
man. Yep.
yeah, that I mean, and that still gets me. I've seen things in that movie that aren't in that movie for most of my life. It's crazy, but like
I
that's
have never understood that.
I don't
Maybe
know.
it's because I saw it early, but I hear everybody talking about how gory the film is, and I'm like, have we watched the same
Yeah.
film? What?
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, excellent pick. I'm glad we have Cronenberg on. So far three pretty amazing directors.
I will warn you now, we're not done with Cronenberg on my list.
Okay,
I will say
great.
that now as a little tease.
Perfect. My next pick is Wetlands from 2013.
Oh,
Yeah, it's uh-huh. I went
oh,
with a German comedy drama.
oh my God, sir. I am impressed, thinking
Thank you.
outside the box a bit as well here.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
movie I try to put on every list because I don't think a lot of people have necessarily seen it. It follows Helen, who's played amazingly by Carla Yuri. After an unfortunate shaving accident lands her in the hospital, a rebellious teen bonds with a male nurse and schemes to reunite her divorced parents. It's a body horror by way of like very realistic situations, and just gross body exploration. Like it starts off with her really, I mean, I don't, it's, there's so much in this movie that I couldn't believe I was seeing.
It's a lighthearted Serbian film.
Yeah, it was just like, unbelievable. My jaw hit the floor just in the beginning of the film, and by the time it gets to where it's going, I've had people I recommend this movie to turn it off before it
Okay.
gets to the
Okay.
end part. And I said, that's fair, but you miss like the ending that's actually lighthearted, sort of, it's got a sweet little ending, but they stopped at the hospital bed. And I won't say what happens for those that haven't seen it, but it is a lot for some.
If you can take extreme cinema, I do agree with him. It is a lot for some, but I also highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And I agree. The ending, which I also wouldn't spoil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah, it's fun. It's dark and funny. I didn't know if we were going to have a comedy on the list somewhere, so I thought it would be a nice way to fill in all the numbers in the paint by number body horror picture we're doing here. So that's Wetlands from 2013. Does that mean it's time for more stories?
A little bit more story.
Okay, all
Yes,
right.
indeed.
Here we go.
So after Dr. Dildo says to me, well, I heard you got some bad news last night. That day, a doctor finally comes in and tells me that I have. Now, he did not call it stage 3 at that time. He called it highly aggressive. I did not find out that it was stage 3 actually until I was in chemo.
Oh, wow.
That it was weird. Yeah, yeah. He just called it highly aggressive, and where it was positioned, while it was bladder cancer, it had like infected the prostate as well.
Okay.
So, as part of my surgery, which is one of the first things I said was like, I was prepared to die. Okay. I mean, he's telling me this, and I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, I am officially going to die. And it's not even a fucking COVID. It's in COVID. I'm in fucking COVID lockdown and I get cancer. Wish luck. The doctor, he said, he said, this is bad. Then he was describing the surgery where they were going to remove my bladder and my prostate, and a fairly large portion of intestine was removed, and a stoma was created. So basically, I pee out of a little fleshy red friend that now pops out of my stomach.
Okay.
I have named him Quado.
Nice. Perfect.
I'm so glad you got the joke. So many people don't. Oh,
They don't,
okay.
nobody
If
knows
you
Total
didn't get it
Recall?
listening to this, I'm not going to explain it. If you did get it listening to this,
Yeah.
good on you.
Yeah.
I had to go to a doctor's appointment last week, and she laughed when I said this is Quado, and she laughed. But I now pee into a pocket, basically.
Yeah.
At least it's just urine.
Yep.
I didn't have the full. I still defecate normally. They were like, yeah, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that, and you now basically have a Ken crotch.
That's how they worded
It,
it?
it, that's how I worded
Okay. I was like,
it.
these people.
They were, basically it was like, the sex drive, I mean, you're not going to use it for urination. The sex drive is going to be gone. Now, mind you, he said the sex drive, and he fucking lied through his teeth. As stupid as this sounds, and I'm going to say this, I'm 53 years old, and now that my penis doesn't work, I'm hornier than I have ever been in my entire life.
That makes
And he
sense.
said that wasn't going to happen.
He
So I'm like, yeah, fuck you, doc. But that is not. But I mean, but but then he also said the surgery was exceptionally dangerous. Like I said earlier, if I survive the surgery, he's going to get all the cancer. And he was like, yeah, he said, this is a dangerous surgery. Thankfully, I have done this several times. You've got the right doctor for this particular surgery. And I'm like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And through this whole conversation, I am preparing to die. And he said, well, I do have some good news for you. And I was like, what? And I said, think of it this way. You are a healthy man who just happens to have cancer.
Huh.
And for some reason, that clicked.
Yeah.
It was like everything else is fine. Your heart is fine. This is fine. This is fine. This is your problem. We can fix this if we get through that. That's where I started thinking, I might actually survive this.
Whoa.
This okay. I know it sounds stupid. Just that one sentence just gave me the mental turnaround.
I
So
love
I
that.
was like, all right, then. They sent me home. So I had a couple weeks before my surgery. They inserted stents into
Yeah.
my kidneys so the kidneys could drain. So I spent a week basically in a dress because I couldn't wear clothes because of all the stuff that I was attached to in my apartment by myself because no one could come to visit me because I was on lockdown.
Oh my gosh.
And this went on until, yeah, I could barely sleep. I had to sleep in weird angles because, again, all the things that I was attached to. This went on for a couple of weeks until a month before my 50th birthday, actually. I went in for the surgery. And we'll stop there for the next round.
Wow. You've broken it up really nicely.
Can I tell a story or
Yeah,
can I tell a
I
story?
appreciate that. Okay, what is your third?
Nope, 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 nope. This time, you start.
Oh, okay, third.
I'm going to toss it up a little bit, mofo. That's right.
Okay. All right. I like that. I'm going to go with Sweet Home from 1989. Sweet Home, also known as the Mamiya House. I've never heard it's called that. It's a 1989 Japanese horror film directed by Kiyoshi
Okay.
Kurosawa. Yeah.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to go on.
Yeah. Produced by Juzo Itami, who did Tampopo, of course. It was released alongside a video game of the same title, which inspired the Resident Evil video game from Capcom. It's a really cool film that isn't necessarily, this is my outside the box pick, body horror, but I would argue that there's body horror elements sprinkled in so many different horror films. And in this film, the reason I wanted it part of the conversation is because these people go to this house and there's some kind of ghost presence there, and it unfolds in this really cool, creepy way with awesome like ocular effects and things. But there's a part where a body is kind of burned in half and he drags himself around with his guts falling out, which is very, very body horror-y. And then we have a full body melt, which is, classic body horror where you're seeing all the layers of the skin and the muscle tissues down to the bone just completely erode off of a person. It's a really beautiful effect. It's really well done in the film, and I just wanted to make sure in the event body melt didn't make it on the list that we had at least one scene where someone just is soup. So
I thought about body melt. I will say that.
yeah.
I thought about body melt. I also thought about street trash.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I also thought about street trash. That was
Great.
another one that I was thinking. That I had a feeling that one might be a little bit off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Now, I have only seen this one. I know the film you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have only seen it once. I remember thinking, this is a bit outside my wheelhouse, but I'm liking this. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I see what's going on here.
It's more atmospherical, and I think like people should see it just for the fact that it inspired a game that inspired Resident Evil. And you can see that in the
Right.
pacing of the film because those games have a very specific pace, at least in the beginning, where you're just like walking and then turning. And it's like that kind of exploration happens in the film. And I'm in a place right now where I just am loving these films from the 70s and 80s with the weird optical effects and, floating glowing things and like weird bolts of light. I find it really
Have you
comforting.
seen have you seen Mystics of Bali?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I love that movie. I love it. Yeah, that's my
We
jam.
could call that body horror, sort of considering what she turns
We
into.
could. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. What's the one? Is it Hiss or SSSSS where the lady turns into a giant snake?
Oh no, it's fucking Starbuck from the original Battlestar Galactica who turns into a giant snake.
Yes, yes, yeah. That I mean, there's.
Oh yeah, I remember that when it aired on TV.
Oh, whoa.
I saw that when it first fucking aired. So I remember Starbuck was in it. I was a Star Wars child, so anything sci-fi from 77 on was my shit, no matter how bad it was. So it was like, Starbucks and we about snakes. I gotta see this. Again, we can talk about this because it is kind of body horror.
Right? Yeah.
Brother Martin, who played the scientist in that film,
Oh,
is
yeah.
genuinely scary. I actually rewatched it kind of fairly recently. I found it on YouTube and I'm like, I haven't seen this in years. And it's cheesy as hell, but he is genuinely creepy as the scientist.
Yes. Oh, I
And
agree.
the effects, early effects are by Dick Warlock.
Yes.
Hopefully some people know who the name is, are phenomenal.
Legend. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, we just threw in bonus films there.
Yeah, we
That's
just
awesome.
sprinkled some in there. What do you got?
Okay, I'm actually going to continue with Cronenberg before I stretch. I'll do my Cronenberg double feature
I
here.
love it.
And I'm not going to say a lot about this movie because if people haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil a motherfucking thing. I am going to say 4 words and then we'll continue the conversation from there. Actually, 5 words. Long live the new Flesh.
Yes.
Videodrome is one of the most fucked up movies. And I'm saying this and this is coming from somebody who appreciates a Serbian film. Notice I didn't say liked it. I
Right.
appreciate it.
Sure.
I think fucking Videodrome is more fucked up. Um, both in what it's about and both in how it presents and in some of the most amazing practical special effects you are going to see in that time period. I know everybody counts The Thing, and don't get me wrong, The Thing was a master. Rob, I do not discredit Rob Bottin at all,
Mm.
his genius. But for me, Videodrome was the practical. I'm sorry, the fucking the TV.
Yeah, I was obsessed with this movie. This was like when Cronenberg really got me. I had seen Scanners
Okay.
and a couple other things, but Videodrome was the one where I was like, I got like a sampler and I was sampling bits of it, and I just loved the soundscape of it, and then the way that the whole gun and the stomach stuff, and like all the breathing VCRs. I mean, this was my jam. Like I loved this movie so much.
And I was a Blondie fan before the film came out. So the fact that
Oh
Debbie Harry, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm seeing Debbie Harry kind of naked. Wow, this is pretty cool. And she can kind of act. This is really kind of neat.
yeah.
This movie has everything. And I want, I mean, Cronenberg has done some amazing stuff over the years, but I really want him to go back and do into this. I know Brandon's doing a great job. Oh my God, have you seen Infinity Pool?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen that
I was
Possessor. I've seen all
we
of
can
it.
throw some body horror. The Brandon's films. Brandon's doing a great job of taking over for Daddy when it comes to body horror. Because Infinity Pool, in particular, two words, Mia Goth. That woman is just one of my favorites right now.
Yeah. Yep. No, she's amazing. I mean, I really liked Crimes of the Future. So, you
Yes,
know,
yes, that
that
was
was
also a good one. Oh, and also, real fast, I have to throw this out just because we're talking horror films. This could be considered body horror, so I'll throw it in. Have you heard about the Guillermo del Toro's next film?
it's not Frankenstein?
Yes, Guillermo del
Okay.
Toro's Frankenstein
Yeah.
with Andrew Garfield, Oscar Isaac, Christoph Waltz, and Mia Goth. Oh my fucking God. This is going to be the horniest Frankenstein ever, and I cannot fucking wait.
Yeah.
Crimson, the man who directed Crimson Peak, full blown out doing Dracula. This is going to be goddamn amazing.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
anyway, okay.
what could the budget be? Like I'm like he's so like he's going to build sets. I mean it's going to be so much money. I mean, hopefully
It's
people
and
show
it
up
is
for it,
going to
but yeah.
be if my penis could still work, I would have a cinematic card on the entire film. I already know. I already know.
Yes.
This film is going to be amazing. But also, if you have not seen Videodrome,
Yeah.
you need to hunt this down. You need to hunt this down. Also, again, not if you're a horror fan, just if you're a film fan. It's may gross you out a little, but oh my God, it is such an amazing film.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm glad it's on the list. Do you have a story or are we going to the next movie?
Oh no, I'm pacing things out
Okay,
here.
all
See,
right.
I may not have done any research, but I planned how I was doing the story.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
So we get to surgery day. And ooh, I was lucky. One of my family members did drop me off at the hospital, even though they couldn't stay or come in after me or anything, blah, blah, blah. This. Now, I was lucky. I did get to have one visitor my first time through. One friend of mine who wasn't afraid of COVID, my best friend on the entire planet. He's the actual co-conspirator on my Mike and Ike comedy stuff. He came to see me and he was like, "No, I know you're not going to die. It's not your time, but you're not going to die." But anyway, we get in there and I'm getting wheeled in. And right before they knock me out, I looked at the doctor and I said, "Yeah, I don't want to die." I remember that's the tone that I had. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to die." And he was like, "We're going to do what we can." And then I went out and thankfully I had no dreams. I had no call it what you want to call it kind of thing. But I woke up, obviously. But I mean, I woke up and the first thing I realized was how much pain I was in because my entire internal body has basically been rearranged at this point.
Oh yeah. No numbing? Can't they numb anything? This all sounds excruciating.
If they occasionally gave me morphine,
Okay.
but we found out to add to the body horror, my kidneys are shot. Well, let me rephrase that. I have one kidney that's okay and one kidney that's basically necrotic.
Wow.
It's not dead, but it's like I think it has like 26, it's 26% usage. So I have kidney issues as well. It's not horrible yet, but that just adds to the that mess. So yeah, I was there for about a week after post surgery, and they sent me home. I did not feel that I was ready to go home, but they apparently needed a bed or something. So they sent me home. So I went back to my apartment alone during lockdown. And my first night there, I passed out.
Oh no.
I woke up. I honestly don't know how much time had passed. I literally had gone to go to the bathroom. And as I stood up, I could feel, I knew I was going to pass out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit the floor. And I woke up and I had gone to the bathroom, and I'll leave it at that. And I could barely move. I had to crawl to my bed
Oh
or
my
the couch
God.
because I wasn't on my bed. I literally was crawling because I could barely move, and I couldn't even call 911. I just sort of like laid there for about 4 hours until I finally called 911. I was like, yeah, I was released from the hospital yesterday after major cancer surgery. I passed out. And then they sent me an ambulance, went back into the hospital for another 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And on that note, next movie.
What a roller coaster. Okay.
I'll go this
You
time. Yeah,
go.
I'll go
Okay,
this
you
time.
go.
I'll go this time since we're getting towards the end. This is yeah, next to last one. Now this one is kind of well known. It's also kind of obscure. I'm going with an '80s film called Society.
Yes, this was almost on my list, and I was like, oh,
Okay, yeah, I mean it
I've heard
feels
your
like it.
podcast, so I was like, I know you know movies, so I was like, I feel like I'm gonna just bet that there's a possibility you'll throw Society on there because I mean, you go. I'm sorry, you go.
Oh no 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 no! It's all again. See, my problem with doing shows like this is I don't want to spoil these films too much
Right,
if people
right.
haven't seen them
Yeah,
because I want people like on my show. I don't give a fuck. We spoil everything, and we say in the beginning we're talking about these films. If you
sure.
don't want to be spoiled, don't watch it. But in this case, I feel like we're introducing films to people. That's why I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil too
I'm
much.
the same way. When we talk about movies, we talk about everything. Like I'm like, you're we're all grown-ups here. We're going to talk about the movie. But in an episode like this where we're trying to hopefully put it on someone's radar, I want them to
Yeah.
see the scenes in the film that you didn't know were coming and you go, "What?"
All I want to say about really society is shape shifting rich assholes.
Yeah. Yeah, literally in one scene. Uh
See, the body effects are by Screaming Mad George.
ah,
And if you don't know the name Screaming Mad George, if I may use a phrase from the old Mike and Ike show, Google it, asshole, because you will get an education. Screaming Mad George was one of the dudes. That's all I'm going to
yeah,
say.
absolutely. I watched Society and From Beyond in the same night.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that is
it
beautiful.
was one of the best
That
nights ever.
is beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh, that. Wow. I bow for that cinematic. But yeah, I found Society again. It was my video store dude.
I love it.
Again, he was like, here's another fun one for you. And he showed me the cover, and I was like, and the back cover actually had a picture of that shot
Oh yeah.
that was actually on the VHS. So I saw that picture and I was like,
I'm in.
all right, I got to see what the hell this is. And a little more explanation 80s wannabe icon Billy Warlock stars as it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet. He's kind of on the wrong side. He wants to get in with the rich crowd, but the rich crowd has a secret. And I'm just going to leave it there. It's kind of funny. It's kind of a satire.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Sometimes it brings out the Oliver Stone mighty hammer of pretentiousness, and sometimes it's actually pretty subtle in the satire. It's pretty funny, but of course, the shunting seed, as they
Yeah.
call it,
Yep.
you have never seen anything like it, and you will probably never see anything like it again.
I
So,
don't.
for that reason
Yeah.
alone,
I also love that it's such a gross, awesome effect that happens in the film. And then if you like learn about the making of the film, it was also a very gross experience for all the people involved and super
yes.
uncomfortable and nasty. And you're just like, I feel like it had to be, Like now it
Now,
would be all CG and it would be glossy and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but like because it is what it is and it's like heavy latex and like Vaseline and stuff, it's just like, oh, gross. It's great.
Back in the 90s, I played the monster in a shot on video horror flick from out here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally just got released on video last year.
Oh,
Film
really?
had been lost. It had been lost since the 90s.
What's it
And
called?
apparently it's called Chupa.
Chupa.
It's a film called Chupa, as in Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And I play the titular Chupa. I had one night of all night shooting in the full body. Only reason I bring it up is it was full body makeup in the 80s, so I was covered in gunk. And
Yes.
all I'm going to say is they didn't tell me to shave. There's some body horror for you.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, if you want to see kind of a really weird, it's actually on Amazon Prime.
Hmm.
It's kind of talky. It stars a lot of theater people, and trust me, you'll be able to tell they're theater people. But it's not your average horror flick, and there are a couple of shots of me that are actually pretty cool in it.
All right. Well, that's great. I can't wait to check that out. Chupa.
It's not a great film, but I mean, I was on a show, somebody had watched it on their show, and they were like, hey, I know the guy who played the monster. Let's have him on and talk about it. And he was very kind of the film. So you may actually enjoy it. So people are seem to be liking it more than I did. So that's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. My fourth film is a French movie. I'm going with Inside from 2007.
I went back and forth on this one.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I did not take it off is honestly, I kind of thought maybe I was kind of open, like
Yep.
you thought I was kind of hoping. And also my number one, there was just no way it was going to. So I'm like, maybe he'll bring this one. Sorry,
Yeah.
please talk about Inside.
So I didn't know who these filmmakers were. I wasn't prepared for because when this came out, the extremism is the thing, and it's coming out of France, it's coming out of Japan, it's coming these extreme like they were calling them horror films. They were really intense, and the French films directed by Julien Maury and Alexandre Bastillo. It's about a woman who must protect her unborn child from a scissor wielding maniac. When I watched it, my wife was like punching me in the arm. She was like cursing me because I had put this thing on. It starts off in the womb in a car accident, and that's how they start the movie. I was just like not prepared for how it went, and it just keeps going and going and upping the ante to a point that like when it was finally over, I was like glad it was over. And it's one of those things like sometimes with a movie like that, I have to buy it, even if I'm not going to watch it again, just so I feel like I have control over it. Like I know where it is. I'm like, it's right there. Okay. I'm not going to watch you, but you stay over there. Inside just really worked on me. And I haven't even really discussed it with other people, but it was just brutal.
Okay.
And I feel like their movies.
Can I say something without you getting mad at me?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Without you getting mad at me? I am really not a fan of extreme French horror cinema.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I,
No.
I have watched everything because I will give everything a chance.
Same.
Now, the one film that I actually like is the one film that everybody hates. I love Haute Tension.
Oh, really?
I absolutely adore that film. I don't think the twist is weird at all. We know she's an unreliable narrator from the very fucking beginning of the film.
Yeah.
So many people complain about the twist. I'm like, no, it's set there right in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Are we watching the same film? What? Like, I think my problem with this style, it's also why I've never liked slasher films. I'm also not a slasher film fan.
Oh, okay.
I was born in 70. I grew up during the slasher boom.
Sure.
All right. And I need to care about characters.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for horror to work for me. I genuinely give me one character to actually care about, and I will follow you anywhere. And slasher films and a lot of the French horror, I hate every single person on the screen. I don't, and I understand it with slasher films. That's the point. You're supposed to root for the killer to kill the assholes. And I understand that mindset, but I think that's a bad mindset for watching movies. I'm sorry. Don't at me, please. I understand. This is just me. I have never gotten the appeal of slasher films. Now, mind you, Halloween, I adored Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode, so I love that film.
Yeah.
I actually like Gordon Green's trilogy. I'm ignoring The Exorcist right now. I actually like Gordon Green's trilogy because I like Laurie Strode's performance. Films, we can debate the problems aside because all three films have issues. But I like her. So I mean, I'm willing to go along with it. Most, especially the French films, I'm like, you're all a bunch of assholes.
Yeah,
Please don't hate me. I'm sorry.
no, no, no. I'm not even sometimes with movies that I talk about, I'm not even it's not even something that I'm a huge fan of.
And hey, look, we're having a disagreement on the net and we're not yelling at each other. Wow, who'd have thunk it? Sorry, I hate the internet. Go on.
Yeah, I don't even know if I liked the characters in the movie. The just the way that this film
It was just the
unfolded
tone. I got
was
you.
so like it just at a certain point you've watched enough films that you kind of sometimes can just pop out of your head and be like, I know where this is going or I know what's happening. And this film just like had me from start to finish, and it was just I needed something just visceral on the list. And so for me, the scissors in the stuff, it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah. Enough said.
that's all I needed. So
Understood completely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's Inside from 2007. What is going to happen next?
Okay. So we had the surgery. I went back to the hospital after the surgery, and then we started the chemo because of the nature of my cancer. The chemo was pretty intensive. I had it multiple times a week. I thank God I was a stoner. I really wish I'd have gotten my medical card back then. I just got my medical card because the chemo was killing me. And I knew the pot was good for chemo because my mother, before she passed, had gotten breast cancer. She didn't die from the cancer, but she'd gotten it. She would come home from chemo looking like crap. We'd smoke a joint, and you could see the immediate
Oh,
change.
wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, for those of you who believe that marijuana does nothing for chemo, as from somebody who's experienced it, no offense, but fuck you, you're wrong. But chemo was bad. I mean, I got through it because I had to, and especially now, I was like, wait a minute, I survived the surgery. I can legitimately get through this. Okay, I'm ready to fight now. Still doing this through lockdown.
Right.
So again, I'm by myself through this entire thing, trying to keep a stable brain, but I honestly think I still have issues. I probably should go into some kind of therapy because I'm
Sure.
pretty sure I have things that are not quite
Yeah.
finished yet with all of this entire mess. So I went through the chemo. They were okay. I got my first round of tests. Everything was okay. And then I started feeling like I had to pass out. And this is, I have been cleared of cancer for about a year now. So we're fast forwarding a little bit.
Okay.
So, I'm getting used to peeing in the bags, changing. It's interesting. It leaks a lot. I could go into medical insurance stories, but that's neither here nor there. That's not part of this. So about a year passes, and I start feeling like I'm going to pass out a lot, and my blood's looking dark, not bloody, but dark. So start going into the hospital, and it turns out I have kidney stones.
Okay.
Now, because of my extensive surgery and the fact that nothing is attached to my penis anymore, I cannot get the kidney stones out the way kidney stones are normally have to be removed. Also, my kidney that is slightly necrotic is actually at a weird angle. So they have to do weird surgeries on both of my kidneys. I had to go through two separate surgeries on both kidneys.
Oh my
And
God.
on my one kidney, the kidney that's actually okay, they had to insert a wire into this one. So I literally have a wire that runs through me and pokes out of Quado.
What?
During the surgery, I was awake for this. Okay, I was awake when they did this, and the dude's putting the pipe in. I think it's so that it expanded the orifice, whatever, so that the stones can actually come out.
Wow.
It puts less pain on the stoma.
Okay.
I think that's why the surgery was there. But while they're doing the surgery, they're like poking it through, and he says to just go over and grab the end. And I could feel them hooking back and forth through me.
Oh no.
Shit,
Wow.
you're not. And I'm sitting there saying, why couldn't you put me out for this? Why am I awake for this? Damn it. So then I had the other surgery for the other kidney. And then, oh yes. First off, after my initial cancer surgery, I get these very, very, very sharp pains directly under the stoma. Okay. And I've gotten these pains for the last 3 years. It's not constant, but every so often I'll get it's a real sharp pain. And I told the oncologist, it's the man who did the surgery, who admittedly saved my life. Every time I've seen him, what is this? What is this? Basic attitude, this is your new normal.
Okay.
This is going to happen. So I'm okay. So every so often, I just have this sharp pain to experience. Okay, great. Then, after my kidney surgeries, again, a couple of years later, all of a sudden, the day after my kidney surgery, my pee bag is filled with blood.
Oh no.
It doesn't even look like there is any urine in there. It looks like blood is coming out of and there's stuff in it. So it looked like it was clotting. And I'd called the nurse and they were like, okay, yeah, if that's the case, you need to come into the hospital right now. There could be a problem. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God. Okay. So go back to the hospital and go through all the things. And everything is fine at the end of this. But I am told that apparently every so often I just may have blood in my urine. It's part of my new normal.
Okay.
Yay. So I'm like, so how am I supposed to know if anything's wrong?
Right.
It's normally blood in the urine. That was what led me to go. But now, if I could occasionally get it, and it might not mean anything. The hell? But that was everything. Is more or less like I said. I am okay. The kidneys are okay. My urine is okay. I am still cancer free. And I picked one of my favorite films of all time as my final list.
All
As my
right.
final film on the list. And yes, you already mentioned it. It is From Beyond.
Oh wow. Ah, yes. Okay, great. Let's hear it.
Okay, I need to explain my connection with Stuart Gordon. Through my comedy thing, Mike and I interviewed most of the cast of Reanimator the musical. They were on my show a lot. My partner and I got free tickets to see the show in New York. I got to drink with Stuart Gordon.
What?
I got to toast Stuart Gordon. There's a video on YouTube, actually, the Mike and Ike video of us in New York, where we interview the entire cast, and my interview with Stuart is on the video. If you look up for the Mike and Ike show, She's Dead, Dan. That's the name of it.
Okay.
And that's our New York trip. The whole cast knew who we were because I'd sold so many tickets. We were treated like kings at this, mind you. But I'd already been a fan of Stuart Gordon. Okay. I seen Reanimator, had been one of my favorite films of all time. And then From Beyond actually played in a theater near me. And I'm like, I had to wait for V8. I need to go see From Beyond. Okay, how to describe From Beyond? Loosely based on an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, again, without spoiling things, it's another one that
It's
people haven't
so
seen. Oh
hard.
my God, you need to experience this without as little spoilers as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just say breaking dimensional barriers and sexual proclivities combined.
Yep.
And that is as non-spoilery as possible. It stars Stuart Gordon favorites Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Gordon. And by the way, I actually had Barbara Gordon get to come on my show. We got to talk to her for a half an hour. She got my comedy. She played along with us.
Whoa.
I actually got to tell her, I saw you in From Beyond. You were my first legitimate straight crush. I need you to know that. You had me questioning my sexuality. Thank you for that. You know the scene I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love
And
this
then I
movie.
messed with her head when I brought up her soap opera career.
Oh yeah.
But yes, I have spoken to and joked with both Barbara Crampton and the late Stuart Gordon.
That's so cool. I mean, just to be able to tell Stuart Gordon like what his work, means to
Yes,
you is like that's
yes.
I mean, he's one of
And
those
I got to
names.
do it in character and out of character. Before we even filmed, I was like, when we were sitting there drinking, when I
Right.
got to toast him, I'm just like, dude, you have no idea what this is like for me.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in character, I was like, even my buddy Walter was like, you are geeking out right now. I'm like, shut up, I know.
You have
And
to.
the best part of it was we're at the theater, we're waiting for somebody so we can get in. And Graham Skipper, who played Herbert West, who is
Right.
now a huge name in horror right now, and
Yeah.
I can call him a friend. It makes me very happy.
Awesome.
All of a sudden I hear him going, I know those two, and we hadn't even met yet.
Oh wow.
And his family knew who we were. Everybody in that theater knew who Mike and Ike was. It was an amazing night.
That's
And
so
not
cool.
only did we get to drink with the entire cast, we saw the show twice.
Wow.
That was Reanimator. But From Beyond is a much darker film than Reanimator.
Mm-hmm.
It has its humor, but it is a much darker film. And I got to say this to Barbara Crampton. It made me happy. That ending shot, I think, is one of the most disturbing endings of an 80s horror film.
Yeah.
That the look on her face, Rob Zombie totally aped it for the end of his Halloween. He
Yeah.
totally stole that shot for the end of his Halloween. It worked in his film, but come on, let's be honest. Stuart Gordon did it first.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man.
And I remember seeing that in the theater as a teenager, and the whole film, I'm turned on, grossed out, and then that final shot, her complete and total utter breakdown. And this is spoiling anything because you know how she gets there, so I don't feel that bad
Right.
spoiling this. But this breakdown shot is just. I got to say to her, that is premiere acting. I was totally convinced. My heart was broken the first time I saw the film watching that scene.
Yeah. It's really
I walked
great.
out of the theater like, oh my God, this horror film actually like affected me emotionally. What the hell?
And it just has so many cool effects in the movie. Like
Yes.
it's so over the top crazy, unlike anything else I had seen at the time. Like From Beyond was, I mean, I told you I watched it as a double feature and I was just like, I just saw the best thing I'll see this year. Like it's just so good.
I mean, I was already a fan because Reanimator was my shit.
Sure, yeah.
Reanimator was my shit from that. I've seen that film so many times. Like I would walk around school just getting cat dead details later to see if anybody would recognize the line.
Yeah.
There was something about From Beyond. I was like, okay, this is Lovecraft at a whole level.
Yeah.
They up the sexuality, yes, but the whole psychology behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
again, her breakdown is just so goddamn
Yeah.
good.
So good. All right, my final pick. We're still in France, and I went with Baby Blood from 1990.
I do not know this one.
Oh, okay. So,
Okay, educate me, sir.
all right. It's a movie where a jaguar explodes and a snake-like parasite crawls into a woman's womb and demands to be fed blood.
Okay, I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued already.
It's really good. She works at like a circus essentially, and yeah, one of the big cats is just like exploded and you're like, where did this, you see this tentacle thing and it goes inside of her body and then she just has to feed it blood. She communicates with this thing inside of her.
Is this some like Mystics and Bali level effects, or is this a better, higher quality, or is it that style?
It's kind of, I dare say, classy, despite what I just said was the premise of the film. But it's
I get you. I get you.
you know, it's really well put together for something called Baby Blood. It's not as crazy, but she does go around having to murder people so she can get the blood for the baby
Right.
thing. And I won't say where it goes from that point. It definitely has a trajectory. There's definitely an ending that you're like, well, that's one way to end a movie for sure. But it's the idea of something, and you know, to what you've been telling of this story, there's something alien within you, and it is it in more control of you than you are of it, kind of. And so that's like really a body horror element that I needed to have on the list because that's terrifying. And as you get older and have something like you're talking about with cancer, or even I have a cracked tooth that I have to have extracted, and the idea of like these bits and pieces of us going other places and alien things being put in. I don't know. There's just aspects of it that I thought I got to put Baby Blood on there. I'd also just recently revisited, so it's very fresh in my mind. So,
Is this available streaming anywhere? Because I would check this out.
yeah, I believe it is. I have the Blu-ray of it. But I don't think.
I'll look for it. I'll look
Yeah,
for it. I'll
I
see if
think
I can find it.
I think it's pretty easy to locate these days.
What year?
1990. So it
Okay,
feels
all right, all right.
feels like 70s, 80s because it's coming from France.
Okay,
but yeah.
I will hunt that down. I will let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
I appreciate the recommend. This is cool. I wasn't sure if I'd find a new film on this list. I'm like, this is cool. I found something new. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is if we both went with just like our absolute favorite five, our list would probably be the same five movies, basically. You know, there's just like for this genre.
I'm surprised that we didn't. I'm genuinely happy that we didn't actually have any bleed through. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, because if you just go with like first come to mind, a lot of it, some of it might be favorites, but a lot of it might be just things you were around lately, you know, and just from like reorganizing the studio.
Did you think The Fly at all?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think The Fly.
Okay. Yep. Going to be an immediate. I was specifically trying to avoid the ones that I thought would be a double.
Right.
And I have to admit, I thought From Beyond might be, but I was like, it's one of my favorite films. I have to. This one has to go on mine.
So, of my honorable mentions at the end, Society was number one and From Beyond was number two. Just in case they didn't make the list, like,
Bravo.
I was like, we have to talk about the man and what he brought to this, like, subgenre, you know? Other things I had
Tetsuo
on,
was my honorable. Tetsuo
nice.
was my honorable.
I
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
also
yeah.
had The Fly was next, so you hit that one right out of the park.
Okay, okay.
The Blob,
Oh shit! I didn't even. Good call. Oh
yeah,
my god, both versions even work. So
yeah,
yeah,
both of
more
them.
so the second one, but I would still consider the original.
Yeah. Body Parts, the Jeff Fahey,
Oh,
movie,
okay, okay.
And then some of the ones that just have aspects to it, like Evil Dead 2 was one I thought about, or Bloody Muscle
What about Bad
Bodybuilder.
Milo?
Oh yeah, Bad Milo for sure.
Would you
Yeah.
consider Bad Milo? Okay. Or what was the one with oh, I can't think of the name, about his penis becomes a person.
Oh.
You know the film I'm talking about?
Yeah, what is that called?
Bad Milo was a lot funnier. That's the only reason why I
Yeah.
remember the title of that one. I liked Bad Milo.
Did you see The Cleanse?
No.
It's a movie where people go on like a nature retreat and they drink this
Okay.
drink that's called the cleanse. And then what comes out of you is like a giant worm. And that represents all of your like fallacies and issues in life. So it's like a
Oh,
representation
okay.
of all the things you need to work on, sort of. So you're sort of reconciling with the bad parts of you in the form of this worm thing. I don't know. It's worth watching. It's
Have you heard about the ice cream lady?
no.
Okay, I do not know if that's the title. I've only seen the trailer once. Okay,
Okay.
but it's people, or it looks like it's a woman who is made of ice cream, and
I don't know
the
this
like I
one.
saw a shot of boob ice cream or bublado, if you want to call it that. But
Yep.
I mean, the body horror is there, and it definitely looked like not sorbet or sure, but I mean, they're not going for gore, but they're going for gore, but stylized gore. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like they're going to make
Okay.
it look like ice cream.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this could be, since we're talking about body horror, I'm like, this might be something to look out for in the future. Because the trailer definitely made me go, the fuck?
Yeah. Okay. I'll check that out for sure. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This is the first time that I have actually used my cancer story as humor. So I want to thank you for allowing me to actually kind of exercise these demons in a moderately entertaining way.
Of course. And I'm super excited that you're 3 years in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I want to drive home. Also, the way that you tell this story, it is obviously it's graphic as it needs to be and it's real, but you tell it with this levity that I think is helpful for anyone going through something like this where things feel dire and hopeless and all the weight that you can feel,
I've
but
been thinking about turning this into some kind of piece. I really have, because I went through so much, and I haven't even gone into the what I went through to get on disability. There's
sure,
a
sure.
whole different story there, let me tell you. But I have thought about actually doing something with this. I mean, like you said, I am an actor, I am a writer. I could do a kind of thing. I just don't know if I'm going to. This
Sure.
this literally was a trial run.
Well, thank you for sharing it here. I really appreciate it. And please tell people where they can find you.
Okay, the website for our show, where Scott Clevenger and I, two grumpy old white guys, talk movies and pop culture, you can find at theslumgullion.com. Also, if you want to check out the Mike and Ike stuff, two immortal alien stoners who have been reviewing things since Aeschylus's Agamemnon, which they said needs more tits, you can find them on. This is going to sound weird. If you do a YouTube search for Mike and Ike, you can find them. And also, the best stuff is at vimeo.com/ one word common tariffs. COMMENTARRIFFS. Common tariffs. Or it might just be one R. I'm not sure. By the way, it's my version of MST3K. It's not quite MST3K, but it's a little different. I've actually had Frank Conniff give me a couple compliments.
Oh, wow.
The Mads have seen one of the shorts that I did. We did the boys actually on YouTube. You can find we did a riff of the original 1910 Frankenstein, the
Okay.
Charles Ogle Frankenstein, and both Trace and Frank really liked what we did with it.
Well, that's awesome. And that's on Vimeo.
So that was, I
Cool.
was like, that's cool. We actually, I can't call them friends, but we do follow each other, and we do have interactions on social media. But anyway, you can find the Mike and I stuff out there. That's more of a search, and I like you working for it. So that's all the information you're getting from me on that. But definitely check out the podcast. When Scott and I aren't talking about pop culture, our thing is the Unknown Movie Challenge. We pick a film that one of us hasn't seen, any genre. We could be talking crime thriller from the 40s, hillbilly porn from the 70s, sci-fi from India in the 60s. We just pick a genre in a film, so you never know what you're going to get with us on that.
Excellent. Well, I'm Dirk Marshall, and until next time, this has been VH Us.